There's a lot of talk about what we know about Fallout 76, tons of videos made on the topic, long extended Reddit posts about it, and all in all, the information for Fallout 76 is largely all over the place. But at the same time, something that I find almost equally interesting is what we don't know, either because the interviewer never asked that particular question, or Bethesda just doesn't want to divulge this yet. I think we're largely probably going to be over the kind of reveal period of Fallout 76 news. Next we'll have the beta. A lot of people will experience it for themselves and form opinions, but as far as Bethesda interviews about the game, I imagine there are not going to be many more, because hopefully we'll get to play it soon. They do have QuakeCon coming up, so we may see more then, but otherwise here are 7 things that we still don't know about Fallout 76 that I think are pretty interesting. So we'll get the low-hanging fruit out of the way, and we could even consider this a list of only 6 things, but the beta release date is still unknown. What we do know about it is in an interview Todd Howard said it's going to be coming out in stages. Does that mean in like stage 1 you only get access to parts of the game, and then by stage 5 you get the full game? I have no idea. But either way, a beta in stages sounds interesting, and obviously all of us are very eager to actually get into the beta and experience the game. A similar word to stages, modes, is something else we honestly don't know a ton about in Fallout 76, but we've heard kind of rumblings of. In the NoClip documentary, there was actually talk about a 12 versus 12 mode being worked on. That, of course, was filmed quite a few weeks ago, so the ideas or thoughts surrounding that mode could be more finalized now behind the scenes as they continue work on Fallout 76. But I feel like this area as a whole is largely a dark zone. One, are we actually going to have some of these different modes? They've talked about a 12 versus 12 deathmatch mode, a battle royale mode was mentioned, but it seemingly is a possibility for the future, not confirmed or denied, but not currently being worked on either. A lot of people are really excited for just the traditional open world experience that most of these survival games bring to the table, but I think it could be pretty interesting if they have a few of these different modes. The 12 versus 12 deathmatch mode will definitely have an effect on griefing in the kind of traditional survival mode. I have no idea if it'll actually raise it or lower it, but it's interesting. And also, right off the bat, are we going to get like hardcore servers? This is something some other games have done where either your damage is amplified or some of the creatures do more damage to you, or will we have to wait for private servers in order to actually customize those things ourselves? Then we have the guns. So we've seen some of the guns in Fallout 76. I made a video looking at all the ones we actually can see from the gameplay and some of the trailers. But even though they've been very forthcoming with the amount of creatures in this game, they haven't been super forthcoming with the amount of guns in the game. Not that it's been some big secret, again, nobody's directly asked how many guns are in Fallout 76. But invariably, I think in this game, more so than some of the other ones, combat will be more of a major focus. The weapon selection in Fallout 4 was a major disappointment for a lot of people, and that's kind of the reason the weapon modding scene is the largest. In addition, the combat system got a major overhaul. They are likely bringing many of the things, if not all of the things you saw in Fallout 4 back for Fallout 76, and we do have a look at 4 or 5 new weapons that will be introduced, but how many? Are we talking about 10 new weapons? Are we talking about 20, 30 new weapons? It's likely and assumed that they're kind of maintaining that same level of customization, but with Fallout 4 it seemed like the high customizability of a lot of the guns was at a cost to how many guns there were. The weapon selection may seem like an afterthought to many, but I think it's going to be one of those things that really impacts your gameplay on a significant level. So this is actually a really big one for me. When are we getting mods? So we know mods are coming, or they're going to attempt it at the very least with private servers, but how far in the future are we talking? If you actually look at Fallout 4, when they were doing all their E3 presentations and things like that, they confirmed Xbox mods were coming for Fallout 4. That was major, hugely revolutionary, and something I was extremely excited about even though I'm a PC user. It took 6 months and 21 days for Xbox mods to get released for Fallout 4. Modding is a major component of these games, and the major difference with Fallout 76 is since you have to connect to a server, you can't just mod your game as simply. You are way more dependent on Bethesda to actually mod your game even on PC. For Fallout 4, even before mod tools were released, there were tons of mods coming out. For Fallout 76, I don't think it's really going to be the same. I'm happy we're getting modding at all for this game, but at the same time, I would really love it if I don't have to wait 6 months to actually get to experience mods with Fallout 76. Fallout 76 is an online survival RPG, but what does that mean for the story? We know how the story will work. There's not going to be any human NPCs, but there'll be a lot of terminals, robots, and found area quests as they've been described. But what is the actual size of the story? How much of this game is going to be the story? Invariably, when going from a single player game to an online game, there's going to be a trade-off. I can't imagine Fallout 76's story will be of equal size to Fallout 4, 3, or New Vegas' story. But what is that trade-off? Are we looking at at 50% of the effort towards online features and 50% to the story, or are we looking at more like 70-30? I'm actually going to say this is probably my most concerning thing for Fallout 76. I really want to know the size of the story because I fear it's just going to have a lot of gameplay loops and repetitive quests and not have a particularly large main story. I'm reserving judgment until the beta, but it's something I've been thinking a lot about and I really would love to find answers to. And obviously the fact that they haven't been bragging about how large the story is in interviews isn't the best indication in the world. So we got Creation Club for Fallout 4 and Skyrim Special Edition about a year ago. It was pretty controversial to say the least. Some people like it, some people hate it, and a bunch of us are in the middle. Well, obviously with Fallout 76, we haven't heard anything about Creation Club, but I'm quite curious as to whether or not they'll bring this back and when. This will be Bethesda Game Studios' first new release since Creation Club was debuted just last year. But one of the major differences with Fallout 76 is they've actually talked about how many of the DLCs are going to be totally free, with microtransactions being in the form of cosmetics. But all those cosmetics are earnable for free through the base game. So like there's this cool armor skin, we've seen some of those in the trailer. Maybe there's a way to get that in game that's a little bit difficult, or you can alternatively just pay to get it, or pay to get a loot box where you can unlock it. I suppose they could just put all those loot boxes and skins in a little store and call it Creation Club, but that's kind of fundamentally different than to what it actually is. That with hiring many mod authors to create mods for your game and then releasing them at a cost. I'm honestly not really sure on this one. I think it could go one of two ways. Maybe we just get Creation Club at release, that's where all these cosmetic items are actually stored and where you can buy them. Or alternatively, they wait again till all the major DLCs are completed for Fallout 76, which are free, then begin introducing paid DLCs after the fact. Last but not least, we have bodies. So I'm really curious as to how this is going to work on a number of different levels. So obviously in Fallout 4, when you take down a group of super mutants, you're going to find their bodies there. Depending on where those bodies are, it's going to last quite a while. And in some places, those bodies will last basically forever. Some of the dungeons in Fallout 4 will eventually reset and they'll be refreshed with new enemies to take down. But how is this going to work in Fallout 76? Because I picture two different scenarios. Let's say you're walking past a same group of super mutants and you take them down. Then another player walks past a minute or two later. Are they just going to find a bunch of dead bodies everywhere? If they knew about that location and they were really excited to get into a fight, that would be kind of disappointing. Let's say alternatively, it just kind of resets after 60 seconds or when that new player enters, but then what if that original player walks back? He finds all those super mutants he just killed are now respawned and back again. I could find that being equally frustrating. Why do I have to deal with combat again when I just did it a couple minutes ago? This is a much easier problem for interior spaces because you obviously have to go into the interior so they could just load it for each individual player. But for the exterior places, the open world aspect of Fallout 76, I'm really curious as to see how exactly they handle this. It may seem like a minor thing for many, but I think it could actually be a pretty big deal in the game. Either way, it's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video, but before we end things off, we do have today's psychology fun fact of the day, and that's going to be on the Pygmalion effect. Yeah, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but that's okay. You've probably heard of self-fulfilling prophecies. More or less what that means is just because you think something's going to happen or you act in a certain way means that thing does happen. An example of this would be you think you're going to fail the test, so you barely study. And then guess what? You fail the test. One of the most common forms of this in day-to-day life is the Pygmalion effect. And more or less what that is how you are treated has a massive impact on how you act. So let's say you have a boss that treats you very poorly because he thinks you're a bad employee. That in effect will lead you to being a worse employee because you are being treated so poorly. I'll have a study link down below about this, but it looked at why sometimes otherwise good people, however you can judge good people, do bad things in their workplace. And one of the major contributors to this was their treatment from management or their boss. Perhaps their boss thought they were stealing, so put in a bunch of restrictions or treated them differently as a result. That led to more stealing, when compared to a mutual trust relationship where you just kind of assume, yeah, he's probably not going to steal from me. I'll have a link to the scientific article down below, but I'll also have a link to the Wikipedia page because that's an also interesting read on this. Either way, as always, again, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.